Can you all stand for the opening karakia? Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tara tara ki tai. E hia kia nā te atākura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei mauri ora.
Kia ora everybody, my name is Fred Sugden and I'm the head boy at THS. Today our assembly is run by the wonderful kaiwhata leaders and is based around the guiding principle of waihanga, which translates to create. Being able to create is so important, which is why it has been a value at THS for ages. Here is a short video showing all the waihanga around the school by our junior heads of house.
I'm Chloe.
And I'm Ethan.
And we're your junior house leaders for kaiwhata. And today we will be showing you all the waihanga that's happening around THS.
Let's start with the music department with Mr. Pipe.
So Mr. Pipe, what does waihanga mean to you in the performing arts department?
So waihanga, to create, is essentially the business that we are in performing arts. We're all about creating, whether it's from devising dramas in drama class through to school productions, whether it's in music class, writing songs, compositions, all sorts of things, through to our performances with extracurricular groups like jazz band, rock bands, orchestra, chamber music, choirs. Sometimes our creations even get rewarded or awarded, as it were. So we're pretty stoked with the business that we're in to create.
So Mr. Wood, what does waihanga mean in the maths department?
Well, that's really easy. Look, because there's no boundary to what we can create using mathematics. The universe, it describes the universe. So there's no end, there's no edge, there's no restrictions to what we can do with maths. Maths is all about imagination, and imagination is creativity. We can model what goes on in distant galaxies, light years and light years away. We don't have to go there to know what's going on. And that is the beauty of maths, the creativity of maths. Maths is, by its own sheer essence, because it's the language of the universe, it's everything around us. So, dead easy in maths. The whole subject is just pure creation.
From Mr. Wood to Wood Tech, we're here with Mr. Gear. Show us some waihanga that's been happening in the tech department.
In front of us here, there's a few exhibits of the students' work. We got 2 Year 12 stalls instead of these two individuals who have made these are in the process of making them do the normal project in Year 12. They've actually gone and taken a step further and developed their own stall design, which is quite spectacular there. If you just have a look at what they've done with their stall. And this material here, this timber that's been laminated as part of the Year 13 project. The students involved in this have actually designed a table that's going to be taken up into the bush there, into one of the huts at in Ahimanawa Holdings. And to add the complexity for a Year 13 project, they've had to learn how to laminate timber and put a bend into it. And they've laminated a tabletop which is originally 45 by 45 mil bits of plywood. They've laminated that to a length of 2 metres long for the tabletop, and also done the legs and these supports in the legs, which are going to be on the table like this to add a little bit more dimension and of complexity, and just look all arty too. There we are.
This is Miss Flood. So Miss Flood, what does waihanga mean in the art department?
Well, waihanga is, creativity, and it's about being able to express your thoughts and your imagination through different media. Media like, your sculpture, your design and painting. But to be creative, you must feel manakitanga. You must feel respect and be respected. You must be able to strive, takakawe. You must be able to achieve your best. And reflect huritau on their journey. And once these elements all mix together, we've got a very powerful thing.
Yes, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
And another thing, look, you want to be creative, right? And you want to use your imagination. You've got to be bored. You've got to learn to put your phone down and actually just create something. Because you keep picking the phone up, you keep distracting yourself, you're not going to come up with your own original idea. Put your phone down, get a bit bored, and you will be imaginative and you will be creative.
Kia ora, ko Jacob Tukuinga, and I am one of your heads of kaiwhara. What does waihanga mean to me? I like to think of it as creating friendships with your peers, or even putting your hand up and creating opportunities. As a year 13, and it being my last year at Te Aroha High School, there are friends that I regret not making earlier, as they are now an important role in my school life.
Kia ora, I'm Tamsin and I'm your other head of kaiwhata. Our form class challenge is going to be a Kahoot about waihanga, so you can show your understanding of the guiding principle. We'll be sending it out to all the form classes to do over the next week. Please make sure you give it a go.
And now for an amazing performance by Whālua.
Mua, sorry, fa, mua, mua, ia, mua, sorry,
Thank you for that very lovely performance. I would now like to invite Mr. Oliver up to the stand to speak.
Kia ora koutou katoa. It's lovely to see you all, and I hope everyone that's online is enjoying our assembly today. Just before I talk briefly about Waihanga and my thoughts, look, I'd just like to acknowledge the leaders of Kaifata for all of their mahi. Fa'alua, look, it's not easy to come up here on your own and perform, but you did a fantastic job. Can we just put our hands together for Fa'alua one more time? Well done. Well done. And obviously our heads of tech and our tech team, thank you to you as well. Okay, so you've heard a few perspectives from some different subject areas around Waihanga Create. They've given you some examples of what they're doing in some of their subject areas around being creative. And what I want to do is just to share a little bit about the why, the importance of creativity. And I think it's good to share some perspectives of people who've thought about creativity before. And I'm going to start with Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein, he thought about creativity as being seeing what others see and thinking what no one else has ever thought. Edward de Bono, who was a physicist, a psychologist, an inventor, and a philosopher, he was somebody that has put a lot of thoughts together that have shaped some of the things that, some of the approaches that we follow, or some of us follow in education. He said of creativity, there is no doubt that creativity is the most important human resource of all. Without creativity, there would be no progress, and we would be forever repeating the same patterns. So there's some good quotes to get you thinking about what creativity is and how people see the importance of creativity. The World Economic Forum, who are a global group, a partnership of private and public leaders that come from the fields of global leadership, science, business, and a range of different areas around the world, and they really consider how we are progressing economically, how we can continue to thrive and survive economically. And they're always thinking about this. They meet every year to consider the situation we're in as a global community and to what we need to think about. And what they've identified over the last 10 years and are continuing to see the importance of creativity for businesses and for global economics to continue to survive and grow. It's never been more important from their perspective. That's how they see it. And when we look at the world that we're in at the minute, look, it's changing really, really quickly. And I've said that a lot. I probably say it in every single assembly. The world is changing a lot. And there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of the problems that we face right now, they're really hard to even try and identify. They're big. They're complicated. They're complex, and they've got lots of layers to them. So the problems we're trying to solve in the world they're changing and they're evolving all the time, and it's very hard to get a sense of what the problem is and what the effects of that problem are. You've got a lot of change happening. You've got societal values. The values of society are changing really quickly. If we look at the political scene and how that's changing around the world, it's changing really quickly. Global health crisis. We've heard lots and lots about the pandemic in the last few years, and pandemics aren't new. But the impact of pandemics are different now from what they've ever been because they're able to get around the globe so much faster, which means they're able to change so much faster. Now, all of that is different from what it's been in the past. If we look at climate change, we're seeing the results of that all the time now. There's lots of things that would suggest that there's really strong evidence for how quickly things are changing from a climate perspective. And if we look at the advances in technology, artificial intelligence, you've got automation, lots of things that are now happening and ways in which we operate that don't rely on humans anymore. Go to the supermarket and compare that to what it was like in the supermarket 5 years ago, or even 2 years ago. Go to a range of different shops now. Look at what the whole what your town or your village looks like now compared to what it looked like perhaps 5 years ago. They're all changing. Robotics. So all of these things are changing. And these changes, you know, they can seem quite big, they can seem quite scary and daunting, but they can be worked through, and we can find a way forward. But they are going to really require us to solve problems which are new and solve those problems in really new ways. And look, AI, robotics, all of this technology has created big advances, but the one thing that they've identified it really struggles with is being able to be creative. Creativity is very much a human characteristic, and we've got to use that to think about how we solve all these complex problems, how you move forward in a world that's really changing really quickly. And as I say, it seems a bit daunting, but with creativity, we can find a way forward there. Mr. Wood made a really, really good point. We spend a lot of time with input. So if I walk around the school at interval or lunchtime, and look at it, and times I can go into the staff room, it's the same thing. I find the same challenge myself. The black mirror, where we're just looking at that mobile phone. And really what you're doing is you're getting input. You are listening and you are watching other people's thoughts, other people's perspectives, and what other people have created. Now that's important, but you do have to stop and you do have to process for yourself all this information that you take in on a daily basis to be creative. And if you're always taking that information in, when's the time for you to process everything you've seen, to think about everything you've heard, and to think, well, actually, how can I think differently about that? If you're continually looking at your phone, you can't. And Mr. Woods talked about being bored. You need to put yourself in a space where you can start to think differently. You know, you're seeing the same things other people are seeing, you're hearing the same thing other people are hearing, but as Einstein said, how can you think about that in a way in which nobody else has thought about it unless you give yourself time to think? So putting that mobile phone away, putting those sources of input away and giving yourself time is really, really important, okay? So hopefully you've got a sense of why hanga is one of our guiding principles, why it's so important, and why we need, as a kura, to continue to help you guys develop that. And part of that's giving you space to do that. So that's something that I'm very much thinking about, and it's something as teachers we're very much thinking about, how we can support you to be creative as well. And there's lots of good examples around the kura of how that can happen. Okay, so there's some thoughts around creativity. I want you guys to think about what it means to you, what it looks like to you, and what it looks like at different levels, because you guys are going to need it more than we've ever needed it before. You're going to have to start thinking differently. It's so important moving forward. Okay, so look, I hope you've enjoyed the assembly. What I'd like you now to please do is a two, so that Chloe can close us off with a closing karakia. Kia ora.
Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te atu whao tō tātou ariki a ihu karaiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, 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 āmene.